Hello everyone, I welcome all of you to my lecture sessions on biochemistry for pharmacy students. So we have been discussing regarding electron transport chain and phosphorylation, oxidative phosphorylation for the past two classes. So in this session we will discuss in detail regarding electron transport chain blockers and uncouplers. Okay, so what are they and why they are very important for us and how they are relevant to our field is what we are going to see in today's class. So in case of electron transport chain, I'll just give you quickly an outline and then we'll go to the actual topic. So in electron transport chain we have four complexes. In complex 1 and complex 2 oxidation happen. Okay, so reducing cofactors like NADH is converted to NAD plus, FADH2 is converted to FAD, and while oxidation, the electrons that were captured will be transferred onto ubiquinone, so that ubiquinone will become ubiquinol. As ubiquinone is a highly lipophilic molecule, it will travel within the inner membrane, the lipid region in the inner membrane, and it will reach complex number 3, where the electrons are shifted onto cytochrome C, so that in cytochrome C you will have iron, so that iron will flip from ferric state to ferrous state. And the cytochrome C is a mobile electron carrier, just like our ubiquinone or coenzyme Q, and then the cytochrome C will take electrons onto complex number 4, and the electrons are transferred from cytochrome C to cytochrome A or A3. You will have here copper as cofactor. So through this network of cofactors, electrons are shifted onto oxygen, so thereby oxygen will be reduced to water. Okay, so this is what exactly is happening in case of electron transport chain. So two electrons are moving from complex 1 to complex 1 or complex 2 to complex number 4. So in this process, because complex 1 and complex 3 and complex 4, these three have proton pumping capability, so thereby from matrix side to intermembrane space, a total of, because complex number 1 can pump 4 protons into intermembrane space, and complex 3 again 4 protons, and complex number 4 2 protons. So these many protons are pumped over here, so that it creates significant proton gradient or pH gradient. So this proton motive force is utilized by complex number 5. So it allows protons to move through it, and it leverages that energy that is captured through this flow of protons, and it will make use of it and convert ADP to ATP. Okay, so this is what exactly is happening in case of electron transport chain, which generates proton gradient, and that proton gradient is coupled to ATP synthetic process, so thereby ATP synthesis is happening in this way. So this entire process is what we call it as electron transport chain, and if it is coupled with phosphorylation, we call it as oxidative phosphorylation. Okay, so here what do you mean by ETC blocker or uncoupler? In case of electron transport chain blocker, it blocks the entire electron transport chain at one or the other place, because most of these are proteins, and especially over here NADH coenzyme Q oxidoreductase, here this is an enzyme, and here this is succinate dehydrogenase enzyme, and here here again you can see this is again an enzymatic activity, you can see. So these proteins can be inhibited by organic compounds. So a compound can inhibit enzymatic activity. Okay, so if such compounds are there, and those we can call them as ETC blockers, which inhibit, okay, the process that is happening over here at one or the other place. In case of uncoupler, in case of uncoupler, they will not be able to do anything to the complex 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. What they will do is, so here the entire objective of this entire process is to let the electrons to flow through the chain. Okay, one is flow of electrons. The second one is, here ATP synthesis can happen only when proton gradient is maintained, or PMF, and proton motive force is maintained. So the chemicals which affect the pH gradient, because here you can see the cell membrane, whatever we have over here, is completely totally insulated. So protons or electrons can pass through the membrane only via a network of proteins. So here certain organic chemicals can be there which will leak protons, so thereby they will affect the pH gradient, or they may influence flow of electrons, so thereby electrons shall leak through the membrane. So in these two cases we can call them as uncouplers, because they are going to ultimately affect the oxidative phosphorylation cycle. They will not do anything to the electron transport chain, but they largely influence the ATP synthesis. Okay, so that is the basic difference between ETC blockers and ETC uncouplers. Okay, so let's move ahead. For the complex 1, we have two very important chemicals here, barbiturates and rotenone. So these are the two chemicals which are going to block the NADH ubiquinone oxidoreductase enzyme system, so that electron transport chain can be blocked in the complex number 1. So what is complex number 2? This is nothing but succinate dehydrogenase enzyme. So here we have one natural substrate, that is malonate. Malonate can block complex number 2. The third one is, in the third complex we have one antibiotic, we call it as antimycin. So it blocks the complex number 3. And for the fourth complex we have three chemicals, highly poisonous chemicals. We all knew them. Okay, cyanide, carbon monoxide and azide. Azide is not very popular name, but cyanide and carbon monoxide, these are very common poisonous chemicals that we have been hearing from, I think, school stages. Cyanide and carbon monoxide are two known highly poisonous chemicals. And how do they kill people? In case of oxygen transport, oxygen is carried by hemoglobin. Let's say this is hemoglobin, where inside you have the cytochrome ring will be there. In that you will have iron. So this iron makes a coordinate covalent bond with oxygen, and in this way it can carry oxygen. This is, I am giving you a very simple picture here. In case of cyanide poisoning or carbon monoxide poisoning or azide poisoning, what is going to happen over here is, iron will be strongly chelated by cyanide, because cyanide is a very strong ligand. So because of this strength, what will happen? Iron is permanently chelated by cyanide. So what cyanide actually is doing is poisoning hemoglobin. So cyanide cannot be replaced by oxygen, which is a poor ligand. So that's the reason why cyanide will occupy all the irons that we have in our body. So it is almost like asphyxiation. So it prevents oxygen to be transported. So when oxygen is not available, the electron transport chain cannot happen, because oxygen is the electron sink. So unless you have oxygen over here, the electron transport chain that has initiated over here, 2 electrons over here, 2 electrons over here, so they have to travel through and then they'll have to end here. Okay, so for any circuit, for any electrical circuit, you need grounding. Okay, you need grounding for any electrical circuit. For it to successfully work, it needs grounding. So oxygen is like this, which accepts electron ultimately at the end of the electron transport chain. So if you don't have oxygen, obviously you will not have any kind of electrons to flow. It is almost like breaking electrical circuit. Hence, cyanide poisoning or carbon monoxide poisoning or azide poisoning ultimately affects the oxygen carrying capacity of hemoglobin. So thereby it blocks electron transport chain. Okay, so friends, so this is what exactly is about electron transport chain. I hope you got the point here. So we'll move on to the next concept, that is uncouplers. So in case of uncouplers, so here we have a few examples here. One is bilirubin and salicylates, and we do have one more chemical, that is dinitrophenolate. Okay, so all these are relatively non-polar, and they contain groups which can be oxidized. Oxidation reduction is possible. So for salicylates as well as dinitrophenolate, so dinitrophenol is a drug. It was a drug earlier. It used to be prescribed to people to reduce obesity. Okay, so because it increases, it is a thermogenic chemical. How it will happen? So I'll explain you. Okay, so in case of phenols, we know that phenols can exist in phenol and phenoxide. Okay, so that's the reason why it is acidic in nature, plus H. Okay, so what will happen is, because they are simple molecules, very low molecular weight and relatively non-polar, they can get themselves dissolved in the lipid regions. They can cross mitochondria and they will transport. So in case of intermembrane space, here you will have very low pH or highly acidic pH will be there. So here these phenolic compounds, they will remain as unionized phenolic condition. So thereby they will cross the membrane, they will come to the next side where relatively higher pH is available. So here what exactly it will do? So they will become phenoxide ions. So this phenoxide ion will then go to the other side. It will go to the other side. So this is what exactly is happening in simple terms. Okay, so what exactly is happening in the case of phenols, which are acting as ETC uncouplers. So here what it is doing, it is actually shifting protons from side to side. It will go back and then it will take up one proton. So thereby it will become unionized again, and then it will come out and it will release a proton over here. So ultimate objective of electron transport chain is to build pH gradient, but this dinitrophenol or salicylate, what they are doing is they are actually reversing proton gradient that has been created by electron transport chain. So in that way they are leaking protons through the cell membrane. So in that way it is going to reduce the number of proton gradient. But here that the proton gradient actually affects the ATP synthesis. Okay, so ATP synthesis, hence ATP synthesis will go down. So ADP dominates, ADP levels will increase because ATP synthesis is blocked, so ADP levels are increased. So they are going to enhance the carb or lipid metabolism, fatty acid metabolism. Okay, so when you increase carbohydrate or lipid metabolism, so more and more of acetyl CoA is going to be generated. From there more and more of NADH or FADH2 are generated. Hence more and more of electron transport chain is also going to happen, but it is going to be blocked here. So no more ATP is going to be generated. Higher quantity of ATP is not going to be generated. So hence, because here in the reduction of oxygen, temperature is generated, heat is generated. So that's the reason why they shall increase non-fever related temperature enhancement. Okay, so these chemicals does the job, and they are enhancing carbohydrate and lipid metabolism, so that your lipid reserves are going to be consumed. Okay, so friends, this is the way how dinitrophenolate, which was once considered as a drug for treating obesity, but later on they found that it is the safety levels are very, very low, so that's why they stopped using it. And salicylates do have this kind of tendency. Okay, the next one is a very interesting example, that is a natural electron transport chain uncoupler. That is the one protein, we call it as thermogenin. Thermogenin is a transmembrane protein which usually stays over here in between complex 4 and complex 5. This thermogenin is usually expressed in the animals, who are known to hibernate. Like hibernation you can see in case of polar bears and some more animals, but polar bears are very famous for this. Okay, during winter region they will consume huge quantities of energy, huge quantities of food, and they will sleep for more than 3 months. Okay, during that entire period, because they are not working, so they need not produce ATP, but what they need is to maintain their body temperature. So that's the reason why we need to uncouple ATP synthesis from electron transport chain. So this thermogenin is the protein expressed in those animals which tend to hibernate. So here it's a natural uncoupler, we call it as thermogenin or uncoupling protein 1. So this is present on the inner mitochondrial membrane. So as I told you, this is the outer mitochondrial membrane and this is inner mitochondrial membrane. It's a transmembrane protein. Especially it is present in brown adipose tissue, and it generates temperature, non-shivering temperature, because usually when we suffer from higher fevers, the patient tend to shiver. Okay, so here non-shivering thermogenesis, especially in newborns. So for that thermogenin is utilized, and the epinephrine actually activates uncoupling protein 1. Okay, so these are some of the peculiar features of significant features of thermogenin. Okay friends, so the electron transport chain blockers and uncouplers are of significant importance for pharmacy graduates, because the drugs that we can see over here, barbiturates, salicylates, dinitrophenol, these are all drugs that we use, that we have right now in the market. But here one more very important point is so salicylate. Okay, so salicylates are actually used for reducing pain in our body. And how come salicylates are used as a drug to which are known to uncouple electron transport chain? I think you remember one drug, that is what we call it as para-amino salicylic acid. Okay, or we in a short term we call it as PAS, PAS. Okay, so this is an anti-TB drug, tuberculosis, the drug used for tuberculosis. So one of the mechanism that is ascribed to para-amino salicylic acid is blockade of electron transport chain or altering pH gradient in Mycobacterium tuberculosis, because our mitochondria is mostly resistant to para-amino salicylic acid's entry, because it cannot enter into our mitochondria in significant quantity. Okay, so in that way selective toxicity can be achieved. Electron transport chain is an essential process for any living being, aerobic living being. So that's the reason why we don't have too many drugs. We don't have too many drugs which can modulate electron transport chain, because in case of drug design or drug discovery, selective modulation of electron transport chain is almost not possible. Hence we have very few drugs to modulate electron transport chain. Okay, so but here one more example I just would like to give you is another anti-TB molecule which blocks ATP synthase of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. The drug name is bedaquiline. Okay, bedaquiline is a recently approved drug which blocks mitochondrial ATP synthase enzyme. Okay, so friends, this is all about electron transport chain blockers and uncouplers. I hope you got the information, you got the concepts clear here, and I request you to please share this video with your friends and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll see you again with another very interesting lecture soon. Thank you all for your time, and I'll see you again with another very interesting lecture soon. Thank you.